All right, everyone, welcome to the first episode of the Wolfpack. This is the Wolfpack episode 1 with me, Rob. We have sports card therapist. We have Tony Cousins Collectibles, Shane Sports Card Nobody, and Craig New York City Sports Cards. Boys, how are you doing?
We're good. Let's get it.
Yeah, man, doing all right. Doing all right. Excited to see what we get into tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Live.
Craig over here is having I see Jeremy Lee in the house, Sports Card Live. He says, Jeremy Lee says, good evening, Wolfpack. Jeremy, man, it's a pleasure to have you in the comment section for sure, man. Love what you're doing. So yeah, man, Wolfpack, this is our first official episode. Long time coming, I think. And let's just if you guys want to go around and really just introduce yourselves, go for it.
All right. I guess I'll go first. So I'm Tony. I'm half of the Cousins Collectibles podcast. You'll meet the other half, Cousin Oz, in the next go around. But yeah, dude, we're a podcast. We do Monday, Friday releases right now. We do the Friday release is basically our Thursday night live. We do a Thursday night, what we call it the wrap up. Oz calls it kicking it with the cousins, where we just kind of do something a little similar to this, but we kind of just hang out, and our show is just geared just like that, man. What we do on our show is not very much different from what we do in everyday life. So it's just something that we bring to the hobby, and so far so good.
Yeah, I'm Shane Norton, aka the Sports Card Nobody. My show is very collector focused. I don't really get into too much about investments and flips and things of that nature. I do touch on it. It's a big part of the hobby. So obviously I talk about it, and I make plays every now and then. Recent episode, you can all find how south that went for me recently. But yeah, it's a solo show. I'm on there kind of jamming by myself, usually, between 30 minutes and an hour, but I try to get guests on, and the guests I try to get on, I try to make sure are folks that I think have interesting stories to tell, or have a different angle at the hobby, that's different from my own, to tell other people's stories. So those are the types of guests I try to get on. And yeah, it's a pretty weekly show. I usually record right now, so I'm doing this live in place of that. So hopefully I'll record after, and you guys will get a taste of that. But that's the nobody.
And I'm Craig, coming from New York City, half of Crosstown Cardboard with my boy Carmine. It's a lot of C's in one sentence. But we're 15 episodes in, so we're pretty new, but lucky to be surrounded by a lot of goats everywhere else we see on the screen here to give us some guidance. But yeah, collector-driven podcast. We just talk about our stories, what we're doing in the hobby, some flips, some plays. We are starting to get some guests on, and we're really just laughing, having fun, and telling a lot of bad jokes along the way.
Love it. And so, let me just give like a quick little backstory here. We have two like original founding Wolfpack members here, which would be myself and Craig, and then we have the two of our newest guys, which are Shane and Tony. But let me tell you something. So the Wolfpack just basically originated with realizing the importance of having a circle of people you can trust, and I think most of us in this hobby have those kind of people in our lives, whether if it's our personal lives or the card lives. But I'll tell you what, man, like, it's like, it was cool. It was a fun network of friends. But when we got fresh blood of Shane, Cousins Collectibles, and Carmine, it's almost, that was the battery in the back I think that we needed, because you guys coming along really solidified creating this like kind of conglomerate of incredible podcasts. And I think that's what I love about everyone that's not only in the Wolfpack but also that is on the show right now, right? And I'm Rob Gerard, sports card therapist. Basically what I do is I try to mix sports cards with self-care, self-wellness, all that kind of stuff, and and really just kind of talking about my journey. But all of our podcasts, even though sports cards are the center of what they're the foundation of our podcast. All of our podcasts are vastly different, and that's what I think is so cool about the crew of guys that we have. It's like no one's really in competition with anyone. It's we're all just about trying to get eyes and ears on each other's podcasts and bring each other up, any way that we can.
Yeah, I agree. I can tell you, I 1,000% don't listen to any of you guys' shows saying, "I wonder what they're doing so that we can top that." I mean, we just do what we do, and then So there's definitely not. Oh yeah, yeah. Thank you, Jeremy. We're looking for that free plug there. We're going to be on Sports Card Live. So between this and that, we're hitting the big time. But yeah, dude. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with that. And like you said, with the shows being different, and again, we just put out the content that we do, and it seems to be working. So
yeah, when it comes to any thought of competition, I mean, I don't know. I'm not in competition with anybody. I'm just, my show is just an excuse for me to enjoy the hobby in a different way, in a different level. When I started the podcast, it was really a way to force myself to kind of dive deeper. I can only buy so many cards. I anybody who listens to the show and those that don't, I'm more low end collector. I'm a Bret Hart PC wrestling card guy. I don't, I can't just buy endless cards, and I'm not really in it for the flip, although, I'm dabbling here and there. So doing this, getting in front of a microphone and talking into nothing, that was my way of getting in deeper. Who can I meet? Who can I talk to? What type of doors and opportunities can I open up that just storing cards in my office isn't going to do? So there's no bit for me. When it comes to competition or anybody other shows, but I want everybody to do well, everybody to do their thing, and everybody to have fun.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And I think having this podcast keeps me active. Always having to come out, put out content and talking to you guys. It's like motivates me to keep making moves and staying active, buying, selling, all that good stuff. What I like about the four of us is, we're not like the flipper type at all. We're just regular everyday collectors. But here we are. We got a therapist, an architect, a teacher, and a guy in TV and film. So I think we relate to a lot of people, right? We're just like the everyday person with our jobs, and we collect on the side. So I think that resonates with a lot of people.
Yeah. Very well said. Very well said. And, I kind of want to jump into some of the topics we're going to be discussing tonight. And first of all, we've had some chats about Grail cards, right? We've had some chats. Everyone talks about Grail cards. Everyone uses that term, Grail cards. I know it came up a ton during my early roundtables, and then somehow there became arguments in some of my YouTube comments about Grail cards and people selling their Grail cards. I heard you guys mention it on the faction. Is it possible to obtain a Grail card and then move it within a few months, or does that mean it was never a Grail card of yours to begin with?
Yeah, so it was I don't know, it's a couple of months back now, where Cherry Collectibles was they're a big shop in Australia. They had posted a bunch of things on their Twitter account that really is kind of what got the juices flowing with my thought process on the term Grail cards. Listen, a Grail card could be anything. On a personal level, anything could be a Grail card. Anything, you could use that term any way you want. What really kind of caught my attention when Cherry Collectibles was having this conversation was they were like somewhat trying to define more objective Grails within the hobby. And different cards come up all the time, right? The 86 Flair Jordan, the Mickey Mantle, the 52 Mantle, the Wayne Gretzky, the OPG or the Tops, whatever. All these cards come up as the Grails. And it was hard for me to kind of look at those and think, man, is like the 86 Flair Jordan, is that really a hobby Grail? I mean, that card is always being sold. And it seems like anybody who buys that card is buying that card to sell it. Of course, there's going to be outliers, but if you kind of like try to think objectively about what a Grail is, it's the Holy Grail. There's only one Holy Grail in the world. And there's theories out there that the Crusades were somewhat run as an attempt to try to get people get their hands on this all powerful,
You are getting way too deep right now, Shane.
Hey,
you are getting way too deep right now.
That's where the term comes from, though. The term Grail comes from that. So if you're going to use that term and you're going to talk about the 86 Fleer, is it really the Grail if you're just getting it and hoping, okay, it's going to go up and I'm going to sell it? No, I would look at more of like the PMG Jordan, you know, the green. Like that's a grail in my opinion. If you're going to think objectively, not personally.
Are you a big Jordan collector?
No, I'm not a big Jordan collector,
So
but
you're telling me
that's
that
the
the
card that comes
PMG
up.
green is a Grail card, even though you're not even a Jordan collector.
Again, not on a personal level. A personal level is a different conversation. I'm speaking to what Cherry was talking about as an objective hobby Grail.
You are
Personal,
falling back on Cherry
anything could
way
be.
too much. You are falling back on
I
Cherry
mean,
way too much, Shane. Okay,
that's where the
listen,
conversation came
this
from
is
for
this
me.
is between us four right here. Okay, I don't know no Cherry. Listen, this is what
Okay.
I'll say. This is what I'll say. Okay, I'll say that when I got back in the hobby and I was working my way up, I could remember when I bought a '86 Fleer Jordan raw at a show and what it took for me to get that card. And in that moment, I have had very few moments in my hobby journey that compared to that feeling of getting that card. Now, did I eventually move that? Yeah, I absolutely moved it. It's the most liquid card on the planet. But I'll tell you what, that card right there signified something for me in the hobby and how far I had come. So to me, that was an absolute Grail card. So, like, is it highly, is the pop count through the roof? Of course it is. But I mean, you know, so if you're not a Jordan collector and you're saying, well, the green PMG is a Grail, I don't know. I would refute that, I think.
Yeah, again though, you're having a different debate. You're having a personal debate, which is a whole different conversation, which I've already said. Anything can be a Grail on a personal level.
I can't speak for the hobby. I can only speak for myself.
Sure, but that's the argument that I'm taking. If you want to talk personal, I've already said anything can be a Grail card. It can be you know, a modern base card out of Bowman today. If that's your Grail card on a personal level, 100%. If that's a Grail card to you, but my conversation that I was having about it was more in line with that objective hobby Grail.
Craig, what's your take on this?
So my question for you is: was that Jordan a card that was long sought after, or did it kind of just happen in the moment?
Well, I think the definition of Grail is long sought after, right? Isn't that an item that is sought after? Yeah, it definitely was. It definitely was. I think it's the most iconic card there is. And I think that anyone that has owned, I can't speak for anyone, right? I can't speak for anyone. I'll speak for myself, that I've owned a couple of them for now, to Shane's point, and I've moved them because they're pure liquid in my hands, right? But I will always remember the first Jordan card, the first Jordan rookie I ever got.
I mean, I'll remember a lot of things, but it doesn't mean it's like the Grail, though, you know? I mean, it's...
No, I'm not calling it the Grail. I think anything can be a Grail. So I'm not mad when people use the term Grail and then they get it. And then, because I know when it comes to cards, right, it's the chase is half the fun. And there's arguments to be made that the chase is even better than actually getting it. And when you get it, you almost have that kind of letdown feeling like, okay, now what? Tone, what do you think?
Yeah. I'm kind of with Shane and like I see where he's going with. It's like when he says it's something that's super crazy that you don't see a lot. That Jordan is a perfect example. When Oz and I first got in the hobby, we were like, we need to buy this card to solidify ourselves or something. This will feel like we made it in the hobby, right? So we go in 50-50 on this thing and we get it. And it was cool. Then we ended up moving it. And it didn't hurt my feelings at all. I was like, okay, we had it. Now we moved it. Like, if it's and this is, it goes back to the personal level. This card right here, this is a 2021 Topps Chrome junk to most people, Clemente card. I'd probably be more upset if I moved this than I did to Jordan. But that's on a personal level. But back to Shane's, yeah, I mean, that green one, I'm not a Jordan collector either, but again, that green one, you don't see that thing at all. Right. So if you can get that, you're not probably going to move it. It's going to be a long time.
We're talking money now.
Right. But yeah, okay.
We're talking like, to me, Grail and value don't really have. I gotcha. So when I talk about getting that Jordan card for the first time, what it signified to me, it wasn't so much about what it was worth or what it cost, right? It was about the fact that this card almost was the mascot for what the hobby is,
1,000% agree. So then usually you don't really end up then moving that. It's something that you kind of cherish and hold forever. And it's going to be really hard to get out of your kung fu grip.
Right.
That's how I see a Grail, not something
Yeah.
that I'm going to pick up today and move. And, whatever. It's all relative to how you hobby, and that's great. But for me, it is something more like along the lines of what Shane's saying. It's something that's you rarely ever see, you chase forever. And once you get it, it's going to be really tough to, move. So, but go ahead, Greg. I know you got some.
Yeah. Go
or-
ahead.
My take on the Grail thing is the word you said was chase. So Grail's an arbitrary term. Like it could be the MJ rookie, like you said, which is super high pop. I have one, but I'm not calling it a Grail because it was never part of my plan to go get one. Right? It's got to be like a process is the way I think of it. So almost in that reason, I don't think I own a single personal Grail because there's not a card that I've ever actually chased and spent.
You've been in the hobby for a lifetime. You've been in the hobby for almost your entire life, and you feel like you've never obtained a Grail card.
There's never been a specific card that I was looking for. That's a Grail. Like you got to spend time looking for it. You got to work your way up to it. And on the topic of like selling a Grail, like saying acquired this Grail and then it's for sale. All I'm saying that is if there's a card that I was working very hard to get and it took me months, a year, I'm definitely not selling that card after it took me so long to get. And if you're able to move it so quickly, maybe it's not that important to you. And then now we're just throwing around the word Grail for no reason.
Right. Yeah, I mean, listen, I remember my first car. That was pretty awesome. Like that acquisition of that car and driving around in it and, going on dates in that first car. But I mean, that's not a Grail car, and it wasn't for me. Now, maybe some people's first cars are their Grail cars, but I mean, the problem really comes down to semantics and how you define the word Grail. And again, where the term comes from, it should be something that's extremely rare, something very hard to get, and something that you're not just getting to make another buck off of, and that you're going to get and then sell again, get and sell again. Again, anybody can hobby any way they want to hobby, however they want to use the terms in their own personal collecting. I'm not here to tell anybody what they can and can't call what they want. But again, referencing the fact that we talked about this on the faction, that's where the conversation came from for me, was that sort of objective conversation. So again, on a personal level, if that first car, that jalopy or whatever is someone's Grail, I mean, absolutely all the power to them.
See, and I know you had mentioned semantics, and I think that's a great point that you bring up, right? Because to me, the Grail is not the jalopy that you bought. The Grail is owning your first car. And that's what I'm talking about. Like for me, the Jordan wasn't about the value. The Jordan was about feeling like I've arrived. And as silly as that sounds, that it took for that to feel like I've arrived, like I've had a few moments in this hobby, and I would love to hear you guys. I've had a few moments in this hobby where I feel like I've arrived. One of them was when I went to my first national back in Rosemont, Illinois, 2 years ago. Another time was when I acquired my Michael Jordan card. The third one was when I acquired that 100K LeBron card. So it's like I've had these monumental Grail moments, I guess is what you can call them. And I'm kind of curious to hear if you guys have had any of those kind of moments in this hobby in the last few years that feel like, you know what, that was a Grail moment for me. Almost like getting married is a Grail moment in life.
Yeah, I will say the Grail moment was when we got that Jordan. We got the Jordan. We sat here and looked at it.
Yes.
I'm like, damn.
About.
Yeah, that
I'm talking about.
Sure, that 1,000% I agree. I guess I can almost agree with both of you guys. Yeah, the process could be the Grail, and what Shane's saying, some weird card that you see every 30, 40 years, that also is. But yeah, that when we got the Jordan, because I was like, again, that's like, damn, I've arrived. Because I mean, as a kid, I never could have that. I was like, crazy. Yeah. And yeah, that I can feel you on that, and definitely the national, man. We go to the national. I mean, we go to the national. We go and speak on the stage. I'm like, what the hell? Like, we don't even know anybody here. We're talking up on the stage. So that was definitely okay. I guess we've arrived. And the other one was when I got my Clemente rookie, because that at the time was my Grail, my chase, and that was something that I did on my own. And I'm like, yeah. So
yeah. Shane, how about you? Grail moments in the hobby.
Man, that's a tough question, because the whole feeling like you've arrived thing, I don't know if I ever feel like I arrive at anything. I will say
arrived here.
Yeah, I mean, amen to that. I guess I will say it was pretty cool. The closest thing I can say to trying to compare to that is when I did get a hold of the Bret Hart 2022 Prism Gold. That was a card that when when I first saw it, I thought, hey, that's not a card I'm never gonna be able to get my hands on. And not only was I able to get my hands on it, but in a PSA 10, that felt like, oh man, that's a pretty rad moment for me to get my hands on such a high level card in a PC that a wrestler that I PC. And it's only a pop two. The only person who has one is Prism God. Everybody knows who that is. So it's kind of cool to somewhat be in a same breath as Prism God, with having a card that he's got, which is pretty rad. So
Yeah, but what about Nobody God?
the God of the nobodies. That's me, baby.
Craig.
When I felt like I made it to the hobby, probably in 2007 when they did that little news feature on me when I was 14 for flipping that Derek Jeter card.
About the Jeter card? Yeah,
exactly. But in all seriousness, I would say coincidentally, 2 years ago, I got a Michael Jordan on-card autograph from 2012-13 Upper Deck Exquisite. And it was with extraordinary cards. And I was like holding it, looking at him like, damn, like Michael Jordan really touched this and signed it. That's dope. Like, never thought I'd get a Michael Jordan on-card autograph. And then the way I was able to like flip and trade plus cash into it, thinking like, all right, I think I know what I'm doing here.
Nice. Yo, Craig, let me ask you real quick. How, you've been in the hobby for a long time. Like, not one card is one that you'd be like, yeah, I want to get that. Like, how?
I mean, that Jordan kind of fits. I mean, sounds like just what you described.
Yeah, but it's not something that he said he's been like, there's nothing like, like.
I can tell you why, because I pretty much know what I like and I know what I'm looking for as far as players and types of cards. So my philosophy has always been, I mean, growing up, I didn't chase cards. I opened boxes, and that's how my collection was built, from like opening packs. So it's kind of all natural and organic, if you will. Yeah. So even to this day, if I go to a show, if I'm looking on eBay, there's never a specific card I'm looking for. I kind of just walk around. I know what I like. I look for the rare, low pop stuff you don't see a lot, as we alluded to. So the fact that I've probably never seen it before, it catches my eye, and I just decide in the moment that's what I'm like. Every card I bought from National, it wasn't part of the plan. Not one. I didn't go in with a plan. I just walked around, and something I know that I like, you just get that like instant feeling like, yep, that fits my collection. So that's how my collection's been built. There's like one card I could think of that I would like in my collection. It's a Giannis 2013 Gold Standard RPA. It's his only on-card autograph RPA, even though it's like event worn or something. But that's one card that's always kind of been in the back of my mind. So if I can ever get to that, that would be my Grail, something I've always been thinking about.
Okay. Wow. And I think it just goes to show that we all hobby differently, right? I mean, I think if you were to ask 100 different people their definition of a hobby Grail, I think it would probably all be different. And I know for me, and growing up, I rarely ever ripped open packs. I rarely ever bought boxes. I was always a singles buyer. I was 7 years old going to the card store and I was buying singles. I wasn't buying packs. And then now as an adult, it's like I set out goals and I figure out a way to get to that goal, and hopefully I can reach that goal. And when I reach that goal, it's like, yes, I got, I've reached the goal kind of thing. And, and then it's like on to the next one. So I think, everyone hobby and life's differently.
That's what's good about it. Yeah. Like if we all did it all the same way, it'd be boring.
Yeah.
There's a million different lanes. You got to find the one that cruises at the speed you want to go at.
Yeah. Yep. So, all right. So shifting gears a little bit. I know in the last year, for me, my goals were I bought up so many cards. I spent so many hundreds of hours just buying singles, buying lots, doing that, and then last year for me was truly about consolidating and trying to level up, and trying to really move my collection from the bottom, kind of move the cards at the bottom and bring them more to the top. And I'm kind of curious where you guys are at right now, because I've realized this shift in that I'm no longer necessarily consolidating. So I'm curious where you guys are at right now with the market correcting. Do you guys find yourself building these side PCs, or do you guys find yourself still moving, rotating out PCs, curating things?
Yeah, I can tell you in the last 6 months, I've been buying more, but buying more with purpose. Specific things that I'm not chasing, but building. And there have been side PCs that have come through that just because of the way prices are, or sometimes while I'm waiting for the card that I'm missing to pop up, these other side PCs have started. That's exactly how it is. I'm chasing some Clemente cards, and while I'm still waiting for them to come up, they don't pop up. Well, then what happens? Randall Cunningham stuff comes up. Some Donovan McNabb stuff comes up. So I've started building those, and those I can get there's not a lot of people collecting those guys, and I can, with the prices being down, that's like a double bonus. So I've been able to, streamline the process, buy with purpose, and still do some side PCs, and all come together, and it's been a blast.
I feel like you and I collect so much alike because I have my Mickey Mantle or Hulk Hogan as like my primary PC, but then I have my two generational quarterbacks, Phil Simms and Eli Manning, that I'm always kind of looking to buy. So it's like I feel like we're like right there as far as that goes.
Yeah, for sure. Because those are the guys I grew up on. So it's like it's easy. Clemente, I never saw Clemente play. I collect him out of passion after learning the man and who he was as a player and a person. These other guys, yeah, those are guys that I saw. And I don't collect basketball as much as, I know that football is usually the one that it doesn't hold. I don't give a crap. I buy it because I like it. And it's just going to probably sit in my case forever. Like that, buying probably football, those guys like that is probably like the epitome of, you're definitely buying what you collect, because, nobody's knocking the door down to buy Donovan McNabb stuff, not even Eagle fans. So.
Do they have the one of him puking in the huddle or what?
I'm looking for that one. That one's the super short print. Yeah, I think T.O. has it.
Yeah.
So
get that one signed by T.O.
Real quick, Jeremy Lee from Sports Card Live commenting, I've started building what I'm calling mini PCs, player focused, where I endeavor to assemble 5 to 10 cards per player. And he said that he is working on 25 different of these mini PCs.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's a bit deep, but that's exactly like I wrote here. I need one more card for the McNabb and the Cunningham PCs. They actually both happen to be the rookie cards. I got other stuff, and these aren't like I didn't get every year. It was just some like McNabb is a lot of patch stuff. Cunningham is things like on card auto stuff.
In-person autos type stuff,
things like that. Yes. Where now it's like, okay, I think maybe if I just get the rookie card of each one, I'll probably be done with that for a while. Then maybe I'll move on to another player. So kind of like Jeremy's doing there.
So Shane, we know that you're a big Bret Hart guy, right? Big Bret Hart guy. I mean, what are the other branches that you have that you are collecting? Like what does your watch list look like for the last few months?
So, real quick, what's Papa Bane asked a little bit earlier. I didn't see it right away, but he's asking what my personal Grail situation looks like. It kind of touches on this a little bit, so I can kind of answer that. It's 2 Bret Hart cards that I really have my sort of goals set on acquiring, which is a big reason I've actually really slowed down in buying over the last 4 months, maybe, mostly because I'm trying not to buy cards that will consistently take away from trying to build a fund to eventually get to the 2 Grail cards, which I know the person who has both of them, and we'll see what happens. But so that's kind of what my personal Grail.
Are they one of ones?
Yeah, they're both one of ones. Yep.
Nice.
So we'll see. But to answer your question, over the last year, I mean, there's been a huge fundamental shift in my collecting. I mean, I was collecting. I'm a huge football fan, huge baseball fan, huge basketball fan, but wrestling has really taken over my collecting as a whole. And again, the Bret Hart stuff is obvious, but I'm still trying to get my hands on, the 2020 Finest set is my favorite design set. I mean, maybe of any card in terms of just a simple design. So I keep trying to build that out in a way that I'm going to want to be proud of a little bit. Again, it's taken a big hit because of this, I guess, Grail chase or whatever you want to call it that I'm on. So that's a really big one that I'm on. I still try to acquire 2020 Dodgers stuff. I'm a huge Dodgers fan, and that they won the World Series that year. So above me, I've got a shelf that has a whole bunch of pretty low numbered key players from that championship. And then I've kind of sort of evolved that from going from the Topps Chrome low number stuff to the 2020 Finest, which again, it kind of fits because I love that set. So I was, recently able to get a whole bunch of the red refractors number to 5 of major players from that. Still looking for a Mookie and a Kershaw. If anybody's out there that has those, wants to give them to me for a song, let's talk. Anyway, so that's kind of where my head's at right now. The wrestling has taken over so heavily that's become my main PC, but I'm still chasing after what I consider important moments. The 2020 championship for the Dodgers is huge for me. If the rest of this playoff goes well in football, my budget's going to be different for football cards than it is baseball, but we'll see. Yeah, stop shaking your head up there.
You're going to be disappointed, brother.
We'll see next week.
Listen, just wait 2 weeks and then buy the stuff after because it's going to be worthless.
Oh,
So, Craig, where are you at in this consolidating versus adding side PCs conversation?
Well, I'm at 740 square feet. I'm surrounded by. So I don't exactly have all the storage available to me. Like growing up, I would have several 3-row boxes at my parents filled with assorted refractors from the mid 2000s. I just don't have the space for that anymore. So it's forced me to consolidate. So I really like, I know the players I like. I try to have a PC of, let's say, 2 to 3 of each of those players. And I look at stuff as, okay, is this a low pop card that's super limited that I'd really love to hold on to for 5-10 years? I always talk about around that 5-10 years, right?
Yeah.
And along the way, I'll pick up lower end stuff of the players that I like. So just some examples like soccer, it's Weston McKennie, Mbappe, Holland, Messi. Always looking for cool, unique New York Knicks stuff. Basketball, any Giannis patches. And I'm dabbling into the vintage a little more, like Jackie Robinson, Pele, Muhammad Ali. So I'll continue to pick up cards of what I like. So I'm always preparing for, like, when am I going to set it for a show next? I have no idea when it's going to be, but that way my inventory will be a reflection on what I collect. And in doing so, I slowly, as I'm buying some lower end, let's say Erling Haaland cards, I'll work my way up to some mid end Erling Haaland cards, which I'll eventually work my way up to some higher end stuff. And eventually, the goal always for me is to pick up a card that I want to hold. Right, so I picked up, this is just an SGC 4.5. It's a pretty random 1961 Jackie Robinson. Thought it was cool, picked it up from a show. This isn't like any sort of long-term hold for me, right? Just like a fun thing to have more inventory of stuff that I like. And try to be a little more purposeful, as Tony said, and selective in what I'm buying.
Let me just, I can't even believe we didn't even shout out the rest of the Wolfpack, so shout out to Dave, DJ Sports Cards 86, to my man Oz, the People's Mailman, to Carmine, and of course to Ken Sports Card Lessons. And the reason what even triggered me thinking to shout out the rest of the Wolfpack, which, by the way, so the way we're going to be rolling out these Wolfpack episodes, initially we're just going to do one new episode every 2 weeks. But here's the thing. Each Wolfpack member, because there's 8 of us, we're only going to be making one appearance a month. So in 2 weeks, the episode that's going to drop is going to have Ken, Oz, Dave, and Carmine. So that's the way we're going to do things for now. And that all that stuff is going to be airing on the Wolfpack content channels. So whether if that's the podcast channel, look for it on Spotify. It's already up. On Apple, it's taking a little long to get up there, but Apple's always slow with that stuff. So you can find it right now on Spotify, the YouTube page, the Instagram page. But the reason what sparked that idea is because you said that you want, when you set up at shows, because I know you like to set up at shows, right? That's a great way to really, and Shane, shout out to you. Shane and I are going to be set up together at Foxwoods this weekend, baby, for the Card Vault show. Let's go. But you said, Craig, that you want your case at your shows to be a reflection of what you like and what you collect. For me, it's like, I get stuck in this weird space where, yeah, that makes sense, but I don't want it to hurt when I sell something. I don't want it to hurt when I move something. And if I'm continuously moving inventory to fund my PC stuff, at some point my inventory is going to run completely out, and then I'm going to say, what do I do now? So I think that I do reach a point sometimes where I find myself buying things that I have zero interest in holding, because I know down the line it's going to fund more Grail type stuff. Shout out to you, Shane, with the Grail talk. What are your guys' thoughts on that, on buying things knowing I'm going to be moving this like immediately as soon as I can move it?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. I started when I first got back in, I was doing that, buying stuff, and then I got stuck with a couple items. I'm like, I don't like this too much. So I went back with the fill the piggy bank, empty it out, rinse, repeat, recycle. That's kind of where I've been at. Now it's
So
getting
you
to the
guys
point
haven't
where
been setting up at shows. You and Oz
no,
haven't been.
we set up one time and talk about, and I'll let Oz can talk about Hurt Piece. He put out his whole PC there, and the guy's like, "Yeah, I'll buy out your whole table." And, you're talking about his whole Allen Iverson collection. The guy damn near cried. I'm like, dude, whatever. But, so I'm at the point where I'm like, man, I got to figure out how to have the hobby pay for the hobby. But I don't have things that I pick up inventory. So I wanted to ask you, Rob, how much, like percentage wise, how much do you think inventory you have left when you started the consolidation till where you're at now?
Let me tell you, and you could ask Craig, last spring, I could remember sending text messages in the Wolfpack chat, and I'm like, guys, I am literally down to 15 slabs. And that includes PC. That includes PC. I'm down to 15 slabs. That's it. And I didn't know what I was going to do, because at that time I was still setting up a ton at shows. This was, 10 months ago, still setting up a ton at shows. I was getting a lot of my podcast content based on setting up at shows. And it was like, I think I'm leveling up to the point where I've taken myself completely out of the game. And so that is like this like conversation and this inner dialogue that I think a lot of us in the hobby have, right? Because like you said, Tone, we can wait till we get paid every Friday, maybe spend $100, $200 on a card, or put it in the bank somewhere, and try to stack it up. Or, we can play that little flip game like DJ Sports Cards likes to play. He calls himself the flipper, it's like, so it's one of these things where it's like, I don't think there is a perfect answer for it. I don't. It's just all about preference and your level of risk that you're willing to take.
Yeah, I agree. Before I kick it to Shane for his answer, so did you guys come up with the tag team name for this weekend?
The Mega Powers?
Nah, that's been used. Connecticut Connection.
Yeah, Hogan and Savage. Of course that's been used.
Nah, Connecticut Connection. There you go. I could be your manager.
All right.
Yeah, the CC Connection.
Listen, I got the name.
You need to break in and hit somebody with a chair for us.
Listen, I got the name. It's Connecticut.
Okay, there you go. I like that.
We got to get t-shirts made. We're going to get entrance music and everything, or what?
Yeah, definitely. Of course. So, Shane. So, like, where are you at, Shane? Because you're planning on setting up with me this weekend. And I know you had said this is something that you've wanted to do and you've thought of kicking back and forth doing, is setting up. And I kind of gave you the nudge. I kind of was a little bit more than a nudge that I gave you. I kind of gave you a shove, and I'm like, dude, no, you're setting up, dude. You're setting up. So, like, what are you planning on doing? Like, do you have cards that you are kind of itching to move? Like, because they've run their course in your PC.
Yeah, there's a few. So on occasion, I have tried to buy stuff specifically to sell it. I mean, I definitely have 2 Shawn Michaels 2020 Finest Gold PSA 9s. I was hoping one of them would 10, neither of them did, whatever. So one of those, I bought a second one specifically, bought it raw to hopefully sell it and try to get into the Bret Hart cards I'm trying to get into. So I definitely
what are you going to price that Shawn Michaels at?
I think I have it on eBay right now at $250, playing off of, there was an 8 that I think had sold for maybe around 200 or something like that. I forget, but I have it listed at $250 on eBay right now, and I haven't gotten a lot of bites, so we'll see. So I'll definitely do a whole new comp lookup and everything before I get everything that I'm going to bring to the show. So yeah, kind of a 2-part question. So I definitely have bought cards specifically to try to sell, and I don't know, it hasn't gone super well. I bought a case of 2021 Topps Chrome Baseball when it came out last year, and I sold that over the course of a year, and eventually kind of broke even. I ended up with 2 boxes that were free, essentially. So I make plays like that here and there. So it's not where my passion is. My passion is trying to collect cards that tell a story, that express something about myself. And if a card doesn't do that, I've just kind of gotten away from doing that as a whole. I did make a play with the 2014 Rock Topps Chrome. Again, that story's out there. You guys all know that came a little damaged, didn't work out. But that was a card that I bought specifically thinking, okay, if The Rock comes back at WrestleMania, there's an opportunity there to try to sell this so that I can get into these Brett Grails that I'm hoping to get, if that's what we want to call them. Now for the show specifically, I'm likely going to bring a lot of stuff that is my PC stuff just to set up and show off. I have no idea. I mean, I'm so wrestling heavy. I know it's a niche within a niche. I don't know who's going to Foxwoods looking for wrestling cards. I know that when I've gone to the Mohegan Sun shows here in Connecticut, the wrestling inventory is light, very, very light. So I'm going to bring some stuff that I want to show off. I'll probably bring my 2022 Prism Gold Bret Hart just to have it there. I don't think anybody's going to buy it. I'm going to list it at a price that nobody's going to want to buy it. And then I'll have a bunch of other stuff as well. We'll see. I had been talking about setting up for a little while now, but the biggest kind of factor of me not wanting to is the fact that I'm not likely going to sell a lot of stuff. I don't have inventory like you guys are talking about that you are looking to sell. I mean, my stuff is so passionate collector heavy. That's, everything that I have is pretty much stuff that I'm buying. And I don't know, one day I'll give it to my kids or sell it if they don't have any interest in it, and I'm getting too old to still have it. So we'll see. This is going to be a learning experience setting up at a show. It's great to be doing it with you. So just to piggyback off and learn how you do these things, set up a whole bunch of stuff. And if I sell nothing, that's absolutely fine.
Well, listen, I've already set up with Craig before a couple times, and we've always had a blast, man. We've always had a blast. So, Tone, you're gonna be last up, man. We're gonna have to plan to set up at the Philly show, or we'll meet halfway in Jersey or something like that and set up. We're definitely gonna, man. We got to. Jersey is like the perfect place. I feel like for us all to
right in between.
I'll
say this for you, Shane, though, too. Like, even if you're not selling, like I set up with Oz, I think the first time I sold like 2 cards, maybe. I had a blast just because, you want to sell your, whatever, or maybe you don't, because like you said, your stuff's collector heavy, but you're going to get buying opportunities. People are going to come up. So that's,
I am so very much looking forward to it, especially at a show, at Foxwoods. Someone was sharing, I mean, how many tickets they've sold already. I don't remember if that was in the Wolfpack chat. I think it was. There's obviously going to be a lot of people there, and I don't know, we'll probably talk about this a little bit later, but I'm in this for the people and the social aspect anyway. The whole podcast, everything that I'm doing here, if I don't sell a single card, but I shake a bunch of hands, that's a win.
Yeah. And Shane, you're a local celebrity here in Connecticut, so I think you're going to be shaking a lot of hands. You're going to be kissing a lot of babies. It's going to be good to see.
I don't know about Jersey being the perfect place, but it's probably the perfect place between Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I think that's the first time that sentence has ever been said. Jersey is the perfect place. What?
Listen, shout out to Jersey, okay? So
Atlantic City was something.
But so Craig, man, I think you really discussing you wanting your showcase to be a reflection of your collection. Wow, that was a mouthful. I'm a poet. I didn't even know it. I think that set off a great conversation right there, with just, being like, do I really want to sell my stuff? But I think even our PC stuff, can run its course and it can feel stale. Just like we talk about our inventory feeling stale, our PC cards can feel stale too. I know I just recently moved, I was picking up a bunch of Phil Rizzuto's over the summer, and I was loving it, having a great time picking up some Rizzuto's. And I recently just moved those Rizzuto's because what I've been doing now, I think I have one next to me, I have a couple of them next to me, is I've been picking up like super rare, like minor league Derek Jeter in-person signed autos, so like these are both in-person signed. So I'm like, you know what? Almost like I had to get to a certain point in my hobby journey and say, you know what, I think it's time to start collecting Eli. Eli played such a huge part in my life. Jeter arguably played a bigger part in my life, and finally now I'm like, I think I'm going to start chasing some really really cool Jeter cards. So, but I don't have a money tree out back, so I looked at my PC and I said, okay, what are some of the things I am looking to sell or I'm looking to liquidate? And some of those things ended up being a few of the branches of my PC that started growing last year.
Yeah, it's dope. Yeah, Ziggy's on fire in the chat.
See, I was just gonna say that comment's fantastic right there.
Yeah.
Men need food, water, sleep, PC, and new PC.
Oh, there you go, Ziggy.
Love
That's
it. Love it.
fantastic. Fly Eagles, fly. All right. I didn't-
Oh, Kevin Cormier in the chat as well, saying he's going to have to hit Foxwoods.
Hell yeah. Hell
That's
yeah.
Ziggy,
That's
I would
DJ
imagine-
Kevin to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Ziggy, hopefully we'll see you at Foxwoods. But yeah, man, I mean, I'm kind of curious. Like, do you guys have anyone? Do you have anyone that you have not started collecting yet, but has just been on your mind for the last however long, for the last couple months, for the last year? You haven't pulled the trigger on this person, performer, or player yet, but there's just something about them that makes you really want to take the dive in the next year or so.
Ooh,
Yeah, I
good
get.
question.
I'm pretty. So I've fallen so heavy into the wrestling that it's actually helped. I don't know, helped or hurt. It's put the brakes on other things. But again, I'm a huge baseball fan. I romanticize about baseball pretty heavily. I can talk about that sport a lot, especially the past. And I'm a massive Sandy Koufax fan. He's, I guess, similar to Tony's talking about. He never saw Clemente. I never saw Koufax throw a single pitch, but I am in love with his career. I now have just one Sandy Koufax card. It's a number to 10. It's a more modern card. I think it's a 2020 Topps Museum collection. It's autographed. And it's it's one of the top 5 cards in my entire collection. I absolutely want to get his legit rookie card. I absolutely want to get his
Topps.
Yeah. Big time. I
55
want to start
Topps.
getting that. Yep.
Same as the Roberto Clemente. That set
Yep.
is iconic. 2 of the greatest players to ever play rookie year, Clemente, Koufax.
Yep. Yeah. So that's a huge.
I'm in the market for a PSA 1. I'll take a PSA 1 of a
Dude.
Koufax.
Listen, you can get right now. I know these comps off the top of my head when it comes to vintage. A Koufax, a PSA 1, you can probably steal for between $300 to $400. Usually the asking prices are around $500 or so, but you can probably steal one for about $300 to $350 if you look at some of the comps. And if you want a really nice high eye appeal like PSA 3, now you're looking at like $1,200. But you can get a PSA 1 for under $500 of the Koufax.
My dad's a Koufax fan, and he's got a little collection, but he doesn't know cards like I do. So to him, a 55 Topps, a 62 Topps, a PSA 1, it's all the same, right? So when I go to a show and I find like a cool, cheap Koufax, I'll get it for his collection. But I feel like I almost don't need to spend the money on a Sandy Koufax rookie for him, which has then turned into me wanting to get one for myself, for my PC, as a way to remember, his fanhood for Sandy Koufax.
Yeah.
So I never, even though it was always his collection, it then turned into, I guess we can call it a Grail for me.
Whoa!
Did he get to see him pitch?
Full circle. This comes full circle.
So, I'll ask my dad. I don't think so though.
Yeah, because his career was obviously so short. He stopped at, I think it was 32 or whatever it was when he had to stop pitching. But man, if I could get in a time machine, I would go watch him pitch in a heartbeat. Kershaw is the closest thing I think we've had, in terms of a left-hander in the sport to him. But
and arguably the greatest pitcher of all time, I would probably say Nolan Ryan, just for the longevity and stuff. Nolan Ryan, if you watch his documentary that came out in the last couple of years, he idolized Sandy Koufax. Nolan Ryan. I mean, Nolan Ryan owns every single record known to man when it comes to pitching. He's basically like the LeBron of pitching. It's like, listen, no, I'm saying like when it comes to records, like there are not many pitching records that will ever not say Nolan Ryan at the top. The guy pitched for like 30 years.
Listen, I have intentions of one day doing a public bracket of my most overrated, And my number 1 seeds, I would have Seinfeld on there. I'd have Derek Jeter on there. Nolan Ryan would be like a number 2 seed, though. Not a 1 seed,
and Hulk Hogan.
but like a 2 seed. No, Hogan's not overrated. Hogan deserves his status.
Seinfeld.
Yeah, I know. I don't get it. I don't get Seinfeld, man.
You guys are gonna have a great show.
You must be more of a Friends fan. That's why.
No, Friends is terrible
yeah,
too.
you're more Friends.
No.
All right. So
Both those shows are terrible.
Tone, how about you? Who is someone that you have had in the back of your mind?
Yeah, and this guy's one of those where we talked about months ago, separating the art from the artist. And it's if you look over this thing is always backwards. That shoulder up there, kind of that poster up there. Yeah, it's Mike Tyson. Just because growing up, dude, I was in awe of that guy. Like when he was coming out to when he was coming out, to the ring, it's like the way he looked and just dude. I mean, you blink, the fight was over. I just remember it takes me back to watching fight nights as a kid, going to my uncle's house, the family's there, we're all running around, and as soon as we know that Tyson's fighting, everything stops, we all run to the room. And yeah, it's him. And there's specific cards that I want of his. There's like 2 or 3. I don't want to get into the later stuff. There's 2 or 3 cards.
Listen, you want the 86 sticker. You want the 86 Italian Panini sticker, I bet.
You know what? That
There's
was one of my early mistakes.
Super Sport, huh?
Yeah. Well, one of my early mistakes in the hobby, I almost bought and it was mislabeled because there's the Italian one and there's the UK version. And the guy, in the description said, rookie Mike Tyson, this and that. And I was just about to hit the button and I was like, and I looked and I'm like, no, man, it's the Italian sticker. It's the same exact sticker.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah.
But yeah, it's that one. And, because Ken likes the Tyson. But yeah, it's that, the question of sport. And there's another one that I want. And but yeah, those are they're pricey. So that's just that's why I haven't jumped in on that stuff yet, because it's going to cost a pretty penny. And even because those specific cards, even lower grades
listen, you and Ken, Sports Card Lessons, need to talk, because
we have.
Ken, you've talked about Tyson, man.
We talked about Tyson.
He turns into Ken, I love you, man, but he turns into total fangirl mode when you talk about him. He starts like getting like flustered and blush, like when he starts blushing, like talking about Tyson. I'm like, dude, relax. It's a guy. Like,
listen, it's not, but it's like there are very few people who dominate their sport like that. Like he was must see TV. Like how many guys can you think of? Yeah, dude, Ken knows what he's talking about. So it's just one of those things. I mean, there's very few.
Remember the fight with him and Peter McNeely?
Yeah, man.
His first home out of prison.
McNeely thought he was going to rush him, and
the cocoon of death. Isn't that what he said? He was going to wrap him in a cocoon of death.
Yeah.
And then he rushed him, took one punch, and stumbled.
Yeah. But even before that, Mike was just
for sure. Man. He had the kind of power that was like the kind of knockout power that So that's awesome, man. And I think when throwing that question out there, I don't even have an answer for that for me personally, like someone I'm kind of chasing or going after. And I think it's because when someone pops in my head of someone who I think I want to start collecting, I'll just pull the trigger and start doing it. I've been so active on Twitter lately and these buy sell trade threads, and I'll start posting cards for sale. I'll start liquidating like instantly, just to buy a card to see how it feels. And that's kind of the road I'm going down with, like how I showed these Derek Jeter like minor league on card auto signed in person slab. I've been going down that road with Ichiro cards, and I wasn't sure, like I wasn't a big fan of Ichiro, when he was playing. All the respect in the world for him, but looking back on him now, I'm like, Ichiro was just a monster, and he was just one of the absolute greatest baseball players of all time worldwide. And another time when I did this was with my John Stockton collection, and last year I started getting really into John Stockton. I was never really a fan of him when he played. I respected the hell out of him, but it wasn't until, hindsight and looking back and realizing just how incredible of a player Stockton was. And I started picking up his cards and absolutely loving it, because it gave me a chance, I think, to start exploring these 90s inserts that a lot of people talk about. I hear about all these 90s inserts, and I got out of collecting as a kid, like around 93, 94. So right as the insert kind of generation had started. So anytime I have like someone in my head that I'm thinking like, I think I want to go down that road. I think like, I just pull the trigger on a card. And I'm not saying I always have the money handy. I'm saying like, I'm willing to go into my PC and I'm willing to put my cards out there on Twitter. I'm willing to have a story sale on Instagram. I'm willing to set up at a show, liquidate some money, and pull the trigger on a card to see how it feels to have that card in hand. Because Jeremy Lee talks a lot about it. He says there's a physiological feeling that you get when you have one of these cards that's unexplainable. And I don't know if a card's going to give me that feeling until I have it in hand. As crazy as that sounds.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. And that's where like it goes back to like, I got to come to grips with like, man, I might have to move some of this stuff to maybe I got to move some of my football stuff to get to that Iron Mike instead of waiting around till the piggy bank is full. But we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And guys, so I mean, we're coming up on an hour now of the first ever Wolfpack episode. Episode 1, randomly we picked 4 Wolfpack members and put them together. And so any final thoughts? I mean, can I get a final thought from you guys as far as just it could be maybe something that wasn't touched on tonight that you wanted to mention. It could be about this episode, anything.
Yeah. Real quick, I'll touch on, and we had one more topic that we didn't get to talk to. It was talking about the crew of like-minded people, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say with that, it's awesome. We can bounce ideas off of each other. When we have that chat, I mean, dude, we talked through that whole deal with Shane. Shane puts the card up. And if you only have 1 or 2 people and you kind of all think the same, like say you only have one buddy and you guys, you might start making mistakes. With having multiple people like that, it's nice. You got different people coming with different angles at it, and I'll let Shane speak for himself, but it looked like it was nice to have all that feedback. So building this network, it's been awesome, and I'm just looking forward to keeping this thing going, keeping the collection growing, and let's just get it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just piggyback right off that. It's anybody who's I mean, it seems like there's a lot of super experienced people who are in this chat right now, but for those who might not be or watch this later, do your best to just say hi to people, reach out, say hello, ask advice, start to build whatever network you can, because it can go a long way to exactly what Tony's talking about. Is I had some questions about a card I was interested in making a play on. I was able to share it in the chat, got a ton of different perspectives, like he said. And it just sort of helped either, solidify some of my thoughts or look at things from a different angle. It goes a long way. The relationships and the bonds that you make in this hobby is really what makes this hobby special. The cards are awesome. I collect men in tights on cardboard, but it's getting to have the conversations with other people about it that really takes it to a whole different level. And last, Kevin Cormier is absolutely right. Nolan Ryan's not even top 10. I could name 10 or 15 easy.
Listen,
but anyway,
you're using. He had to get the final word, and I love it.
That's dope. He's a compiler, as they say.
Right? I mean, he doesn't. He's got the mind of an elephant. He won't forget anything. 3 years from now, Shane will be like, and by the way.
No, I was talking about Ryan being a compiler.
Oh, okay.
If you play 30 years, you're bound to own a record or 2.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I mean, anyway, there's something to be said for his longevity, but that's for another show.
Sure.
And he beat up Robin Ventura though, so
he did.
You
he
gotta
beat
give
the
him
hell
props
out
for
of
that.
Ventura. He's definitely the GOAT, beating people up in baseball.
Yeah.
If that doesn't get you points, I don't know what
it gets you a few points. I'll give you that. That picture is everlasting in the history of baseball. That means something.
And Robin Ventura had a very respectable career, and that is literally the only thing he's known for.
Ryan Ventura for his Grand Slam single in the playoffs.
That's right. That was he hit the Grand Slam, but he didn't finish rounding the bases, right?
Exactly. I have a little plaque that's hanging up at home right now, so it's funny that you mentioned that. 1999, I think, I definitely went to some
It
of those
sounds
games.
right.
I was like 7 or 8.
I remember watching that for sure. It's wild.
Yeah, it's
So,
wild.
Craig, any final thoughts, Craig?
A group of friends here who all participate in the hobby in a similar but such a different way. Back to what Shane said about networking and having relationships. I'm going to a Bleecker trade night tomorrow, and I'm not even thinking about like what I'm looking to pick up. I'm just looking forward to seeing my hobby buddies. So it's great to have a group of friends that, like we've been saying, you can bounce ideas off of, and that they care.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. So once again, Wolfpack episodes dropping every 2 weeks. 2 weeks from now, it's gonna be Ken, it's gonna be Oz, Dave, and Carmine representing the Wolfpack. Don't forget to follow the Wolfpack page at the Wolfpack content on Instagram. And yeah, man, we're just super excited to be here. And thank you to everyone who watched, everyone who's listening right now as this airs, whenever it airs, whenever whenever it is you're listening to it. Thank you for everyone for participating in the chat and everything like that. That was really great. And guys, I appreciate you very much. So Wolfpack, baby, thank you.
Appreciate you.